Okay, welcome to the You Matter Show podcast. I'm Mark Brodinsky, host of the You Matter Show, and we believe in this principle, that the deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated, that to feel that you have value and worth is really the foundation of everything. And many people feel that they don't. So one reason we started this podcast is to talk about this concept, but also tell stories about others and maybe when they thought they didn't matter and ways that they came back and made themselves feel that they do, or just talk about the concept. So it's important for me, very important broadcast today, because this all started for me about 5 years ago. Actually about 8 years ago is when I heard my mission that I'm here to positively impact the lives of 1 billion people. But the how didn't present itself until a few years later when I heard a story about a card. And it was my mentor, Darren Hardy, who actually told this story on a Darren Daily. That's his daily motivational segments, I'll call them. He's really a practical educator, but he does these Darren Dailies to help educate you. And he told the story about a woman named Cheryl who gave a card to another woman who was struggling. And at the end of that story, when it was over, I thought to myself, why wouldn't I do that? So I got cards made with Cheryl's inspiration and started handing these out. And so we started a movement. I started a movement myself, and she has a movement. So Cheryl, welcome to the You Matter Show podcast.
Thank you, Mark. It's a privilege to be with you today.
It's great to have you. I'm really excited because you're the reason this is all happening really in my life, because I mean, Darren did tell the story. If I didn't listen to his Darren Dailies, I would not have known about it. But the story was about you and your interaction with this other woman handing this person this card. So can you take us back in time to that moment, when it happened, how it happened, and really actually who gave you the card to start all this?
Yeah, I'd be delighted to, Mark. And it started back in late 2015 or 2016 when a colleague gave me a card with only the words "You matter" on it. She knew I was going through a hard time. And when she gave me this card, I felt like I had been hugged and really, truly seen. And so I ordered some cards and I started sharing them, just like you, Mark, with family and friends at first. And every time I shared one, people would seem genuinely touched, which made me feel braver. So I started sharing them in my community with people I interact with on a weekly basis, the person who gives me my coffee at Starbucks or in the farmer's market. And again, the reactions were stunning. And so that emboldened me until one day I was standing behind a woman in the checkout line of my local grocery store. And I overheard her tell the cashier she was having a really hard time. She said her husband had just lost his job and her son was battling addiction. She didn't know how she'd make it through the holidays. I didn't know what to do, Mark. I kind of froze. I wasn't sure, should I offer to pay for her groceries or what to do, and I did nothing. It wasn't until we were both returning our carts in the parking lot that I summoned my courage and I went up to her and I said, sounds like you're having a really hard time. I just want to give you something. And I pulled out a You Matter card and I gave it to her and she started to cry. And she said, you have no idea what this means to me. And she asked if we could hug. And we hugged. And then I went back to my car and I started to cry from the power of the interaction with a quote unquote stranger, which, as you and I both know, there is really no such thing. And it was at that moment, that was my Darren Hardy moment of realizing I can't be the only one who feels this. Like, I want other people to experience this power of giving and receiving this message that I had then had the pleasure of being gifted with, being told that I mattered in this very surprising, deep, penetrating way. And also I experienced the power of giving this message. So I call it the You Matter twofer. When I tell you that you matter, I'm also simultaneously enhancing my own significance. So it's a win-win. That started the You Matter Marathon, no running required, where I invited people to give out one card a day during the month of November. That was our first year. This was just in the month of November. And we said, actually it was my father who has a background in marketing. And he said, well, you're going to have to give these cards out for free to really encourage people to participate. And so we did. And I said, well, that would make me a fulfillment center. And he's like, yeah. So I turned my dining room over to You Matter cards. We got a website and it spread like wildfire in 2016. And we would give out at that time 30 cards for free to anybody who signed up. And it just has taken off from there, which we can talk about if you like. But that's the origin story, Mark.
It's wonderful. And, the way Darren told the story too, I get a little choked up, but the way he told it is you didn't know what the two words on the card were until you had handed it to this woman. And he says that the only two words on that card said, "You matter." And I'm like, wow. It's because it is the deepest principle of human nature is the craving to be appreciated. It's not a desire, a want, or a need. It goes deeper than that into a craving. It's the David J. Schwartz of the book The Magic of Thinking Big. He talks about that. Our greatest non-biological hunger is to feel that we matter and make a difference. That's a powerful statement, and I think a lot of people don't think about it, because when they're reminded by us handing people the cards, you see the reaction and the emotion in their eyes, and just it takes them back sometimes for that moment to be like, wow, there's always a smile and a thank you, and it's just a powerful message. So, thank you for starting all this. You even did a TED Talk based on this, right?
I did a few years ago. It had always been an ambition to do a TED Talk because I thought, as a speaker myself, I thought that would be an incredible challenge and an accomplishment. And it wasn't until the You Matter Marathon mission that I really felt I had a clear purpose for doing a TED Talk. This was the message I felt so powerful about that I wanted to share. And I thought it could be transformative. And it was certainly for me. And I think it's been viewed many times and people tell me it's quite inspiring. So that was a bucket list item. Yes. And I'm really proud I did it because it's another way to get the message out there. And I was able in that 10 or 11 minutes to share some stories. And that was only after our third year. And this right now, we're starting our 9th year of the marathon, which is incredible to me. And we're in 100 countries, Mark, and we've had over 300,000 people participate worldwide.
Wow, that's amazing. I watched the TED Talk, and it was great with the shopping cart you had there as well. If people want to find the TED Talk, what would they look for?
You could probably Google Cheryl Rice on the TED website, or if you go to youmattermarathon.org, which is our website, if you want free You Matter cards, you'll also see links to the TED Talk right on that website homepage, youmattermarathon.org. Again, no running required. We called it a marathon that first year to inspire people to give out one card a day for about 28 days. And the alliteration stuck, and then I get to say no running required. People chuckle, and they're paying attention. So we no longer give out 30 free cards. We give out 10. We found that we call it the You Matter Starter Pack. And then we tell people how they can either print or purchase more cards on their own. And you mentioned something really powerful, Mark, that I want to allude to. For us, the card literally just says You Matter. It's a white card, the size of a business card with black printing, You Matter. And there's nothing on the back. And a lot of people, PR people, marketing people would say, why don't you put anything on the back, even our website? And for me, that would change it. So one of the things we found is that often when we give people a card, they turn it over. They're almost primed to look for a catch. So for us, even at the expense of more people finding our movement, I've chosen to keep it that simple. And I don't care if somebody finds us or not. I don't want anything to take away from the purity, which is why the card is white with black letters and it's not embellished. There's nothing cute about it. If I were doing my own You Matter card, I would probably put flowers on it, but that's even about me. That's my taste. So we make it as generic as possible to be as accessible. We want it to be generic, and we want the power to come from the message. As you said, these essential words, You Matter. People go their whole lives and do not hear this. People go their whole lives and don't necessarily feel this ever. And we all need to be reminded. And not only do we need to be reminded, we need to be the reminders. I feel like it's our civic responsibility as human beings to also remind others of their significance, because we all forget. We all just get lost in our own minds, our traumas, our journeys, and we doubt. And so to be reminded is not only essential for the person being reminded, I think it's essential for us to do the reminding of others.
You explained it wonderfully. It's hard to top the way you just laid all that out. And it's two simple words. I mean, yours is a white card. Hold up your card again. Not everyone watches on video, but it's a white card with black lettering on it.
Can you
Mine's
see
a
it?
red card with white lettering. And just
Yeah.
because that's why I felt it. You felt it a different way. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how the two words are presented. It's the two words that make the difference. No one's going, oh, what a beautiful red card.
Exactly.
White card. They want to feel that because, like you said, there are people that go their whole lives without feeling that. In fact, I mean, there's stats now that say only 19% of adults are fully satisfied with their lives, and only 21% of adults have a clear sense of purpose. That means 80%, rounded up, right, of the population is running around with no vision or feelings of worth or satisfaction in what they're doing in their lives. And like I said, it's much better sometimes to be reminded than instructed. It's just a reminder, and maybe that spark will lead them to do some things. In fact, I tell the story in the book. I'm not going to give it all away here, but about a woman I met in a grocery store, and it probably saved her life, come to find out. So that was a really powerful moment for me about 2 years into doing this. I'm like, wow, this, not that I didn't have great reactions, but that moment just floored me and really made me double down on all of this, which is why I wanted to do more, write the book, and even had a song made for it, and we're going to do some other things. But you're right, everyone flips the card over, and all mine says on the back is that quote I said, that the deepest principle of human nature is the craving to be appreciated, and you do make a difference.
Beautiful.
My new one we'll probably have a link to the website, because the website is about the work we're doing as well as other things. But moving forward, I don't want, again, to anyone else to think that it's not a sale that's going on there. It's really for them to be able to make sure that they know in their hearts that what we're doing is for them and not for us. But like you said, it does come back to you, because every time you make someone else feel that they matter, you feel that you do. And I talk about that all the time in my You Matter minutes. You get what you give. So if you walk around ignoring the human race, or just don't look at other people, or, because you don't know what you don't know. And everyone you'll ever meet in your entire life is going through something. You can't see that something many times, but it's happening because it's life. And those two words as a reminder make them just stop for a second and go, wow, you know what? I do have a sense of purpose. Maybe I should love myself more, or know that other people do love me.
Yeah, it's as you said, it's a human craving. And I think it's essential to a civil society. I think it's essential to making progress in the world, in our communities, as individuals, as a collective. And one of our principles is that the world would be a more joyful and peaceful place, if every human being knew in their bones that they mattered. Because think about all the horror that happens when people act out of a place of not mattering, and the harm they cause to others or to themselves. When we feel that we don't matter, bad things happen.
And sometimes those bad things are a way to get attention.
Right.
In a weird way, you want someone to pay attention to you, so you're doing something that is wrong, but people are going to, find out, and now you have attention. And maybe that was what you were always craving, but you didn't know how to get there, and you're doing it in a way that's hurting other people instead of helping them.
That's right. And it's a really almost a false gold. And so the real gold is knowing that regardless of even what you do, how much money you make, what color you are, who you love, who you vote for, whatever, you matter because you're a human being of enormous worth and potential just because you're you. And in our society, we get so many messages that our value is contingent upon certain accomplishments, certain everything, a certain weight, a certain color, a certain lifestyle. And it's just so, what's the word? It demeans our spirits on a regular basis. We're assaulted, and especially with the social media environment that we're in. So to me, this is so simple. It's almost quaint, and I love that because it just shows the power of something so simple, easy, yet impactful. And there was a time, I believe, that we didn't need to go around giving out cards because people knew we were interdependent. we knew we needed each other when we were living on prairies, and we needed help just protecting ourselves from different threats. But somehow we've lost this belief that we need each other to be okay, to succeed. And so it is really, really essential that we remember that we're all in this together. We need each other. Every human being is of value to themselves and to the collective. So this is just one way. It's not the only way, but it's one way of making this very, very clear. And it really makes my heart happy, Mark, it must be said, that you have taken this on. Because, so let me just say this really quickly. You asked how I got a card, and I told you a colleague gave it to me. How did she get a card? A woman named Vicki O'Grady in Florida, Orlando, Florida, was at a conference that my colleague was at. Now, it was Vicki who was actually giving out cards at this conference, and she's in Orlando, Florida. So I call Vicki, like, she's my Mark. Like, Vicki was the one who got this card to my colleague who gave it to me. So she was doing this on her own in Orlando, just giving out cards, bunches of them, to community groups and to individuals. So I credit her with getting me into this. So I took it and turned it into the marathon, where we send out free cards. You heard me a few years ago. Now you're doing your thing with it. So this tells me it's like we're passing the baton, and the world needs all of us, and it's gorgeous. So I just want you to know that I stand in front of you today and your listeners because of Vicki, and my colleague who happened to get one of her cards. So it's a beautiful chain. It's beautiful, just beautiful. And I'm so delighted with what you're doing and your creativity and your heart and your alignment between your own potential and your generosity with the world. So just keep going. It's great.
Well, you too. And thanks to Vicki for, inspiring you to do this. And
Right.
I was at a conference yesterday with Chad Hymas, who's a quadriplegic. He's one of the 10 most influential people in the world in terms of the talks that he gives. And he has a great line in there. He says, one person has to have the guts to be a lone nut, to stand out and be ridiculed to start a movement. Because, and I talk about this in the book, actually the first time I went to hand the cards out, I was shy and embarrassed and worried because we all are human beings, that people are going to laugh and go, doesn't really make a difference, even though I heard the story until I actually did it myself. And the first time I did it, and the person smiled at me, and then another person clutched her chest and thanked me for the card. There were tears in her eyes. And the next person told me, oh my God, I really need this because you have no idea what happened today. Wow. Because everyone is going through something, and you talk about social media, and I talk about that in the book. We're all watching people's front stage and we don't see the backstage. And like I said before, you don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
I can't imagine. And there are times I walk past people and go, I don't know. I just feel uncomfortable giving the card. It's a weird feeling sometimes because it doesn't seem to be the right moment, but it is the right moment, because when you do it, all of a sudden people's, their whole personality changes sometimes. The sentiment that they give you is so powerful. You're like, wow, I'm glad I did this, because they needed it. And it's always a smile, a tear, a laugh. You had the woman ask to hug you. I've had that happen too. So it's really incredible that two words can be so meaningful. And it is about, you talk about, nowadays it seems more difficult because people are not loving themselves. And it has to start in here. So if we can remind people that you do make a difference, you are a miracle, a masterpiece, and a hero. And if you love you, you get even more love. And when you don't love you, that's when the trouble starts. Because you can't expect other people to love you if you don't love yourself, or at least think of yourself as having worth and value.
That's right. And that's interesting, that the love word. I think, to me, saying you matter is even more significant in a way than telling someone you love them. Because when I say I love you, that's really about me. I have love for you. And that's what's happening for me. You matter really doesn't have anything to do with me. It's saying this inalienable truth about your significance. You matter. It's a fact. And as you say, that is what people are hungry for, and we doubt. So there are people I give cards to I don't love. I might love that they're part of humanity, but I value their significance, even if I have differences of substance with them. I would still say they matter. They matter.
Because everybody does. And we have to have grace for people. Just because I talked about this in a meetup I used to run called Change Your Mind, Change Your Life, about the 12 principles of change. And one of those is opinions. And opinions are based on education and experience. It doesn't mean that they don't have value and worth just because you don't agree with them, because you were raised differently than they were. Your experience of life growing up is different. And so let's give grace to everyone, because we're all, like I said, we're all in this together. We're all part of a social tribe, and we all need each other, even though we think we may not. The issue now is that need is a 10-second view on someone else's Instagram page. Right. So you don't get to know them. You just see the front stage. Like I said, they're showing you not the backstage. And how many people struggle that you learn of later that commit suicide or have, bad things happen because they didn't love themselves, and you didn't know that, and you didn't take 2 seconds to remind them. Like if the card said I matter, and I want people to feel that they do, it wouldn't work, because they think you're handing a card to them that says, I matter. Every time you take I out of the equation, it is about other people.
Totally. Yeah, it's a twofer. And since doing this for now 9 years or more, it does reinforce my own belief in my purpose in this world has increased. So that, again, is the paradox. It's by focusing on somebody else's significance, it's raised my own belief in my worth. And that's been valuable. That has been valuable for me, for sure.
Yeah. A movement is not about us, it's about the followers. It's about the followers. When you have to step back, you can't be selfish about this. You're getting something technically selfishly, which is feeling that you matter by doing it for other people. But we all need that. I mean, you're no different than the person you're giving the card to.
That's the beautiful thing. It's not either or. It's yes. It's we. And that's why nature is so gorgeous, because we're reinforced. Altruism is designed to reinforce our desire to continue to do it. That's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with feeling good from doing good. That's an incentive to keep going, right? So, and when you get those people who look at you and thank you, or they tear up, or they want a hug, or they just can't even talk because they're so moved, like, it's good that fills you up. That says, wow, we're expressing our common humanity together. And that's what happened in the grocery store. This woman felt that I saw her, and it mattered to me that she was suffering. And so she felt in that moment, I believe, not so alone, that she was seen, she was heard, and somebody cared, just cared. I couldn't solve her problems, but man, oh man, what she needed more was just to have that acknowledgement that she mattered, her suffering mattered. And it mattered to me that I want to be a person in this world who walks around seeing others and valuing others and feeling others' plight. And it does not become numb to the struggles that people have. And so this, one of my friends who does the marathon said she feels like she's got a superpower in her pocket every time she leaves the house with You Matter cards, because she knows it's like, whose life am I gonna change today? Because she's got this pack of cards. And I can't tell you, a bad day for me is when I have a You Matter moment and I'm out of a card, and I get so crazy. I'm like, how do you not have a card? And I'm looking in my pockets, I'm looking in my car. So I have to admit, there are times when I run out of having them on my person, and it's the worst feeling. So now I stock up pretty heavily, especially, and it's easier in the cooler months because I usually have a coat with cards in my pockets. And sometimes it's fun, Mark, and you may have experienced this, to leave cards in places where you don't know who will receive them. Mm-hmm. So sometimes when I'm filling up my car with gas, I'll leave a card in the credit card holder, and I turn it upside down so that I know the person has to see it. They probably think someone left their credit card, and they turn it over and they see the message. Or a library book that I'm returning, I'll just stick it in the book and never know who sees it. And then if I'm really having a bad day and I need to change my own mojo, I'll go to my local drive-thru at like Dunkin' Donuts, and I'll pay for the person behind me, and I'll ask the cashier to put a You Matter card in with their order. And I give a card to the cashier at the window who's selling me my coffee and donut. And I ask him or her to put a You Matter card in. And then I just drive away. I don't need to see it. I just think about that person who goes to the drive-through, has their coffee paid for, and someone gives them a You Matter card, what their day is going to be like as a result. And the contagion factor, which is so gorgeous, of any act of kindness. I mean, these are just random acts of kindness. And we know there's a lot of research about the power to our health, our own health, when we engage in these acts of kindness. So those are just some other ways that I also share cards. Do it. Somebody asked me, could they leave a card in front of a tree that they love? I'm like, of course you can. Like, I'm not the police of You Matter card giving, but it's just an infinite way. And we have, I think on our website under the resource section, a list of like 100 different ways you could share a You Matter card and people. And I could talk to you for the next 20 minutes about all of those ways, but be creative, just be on the lookout, and do it.
That's wonderful. I'm glad we're having the conversation, because that was a light bulb moment for me, something I hadn't done, which is I paid for people behind me, but not gave the cashier the You Matter card to give to them. It's a great idea. I mean, I'm like you, I'm sitting on my dresser, my wallet, my keys, and You Matter cards. And I rarely leave the house without them in my left front pocket of my pants. And there have been times, though, I'm out because I was in a rush and ran out to the store or something, and I'm like, darn, I haven't met this person yet. I want to give them a You Matter card. I don't have it on me. I almost want to drive home and go get it. And talk about putting it in places. You know, I've given it to retail establishments where they tape the card to the top of the credit card machine.
Yeah.
And for years, this wine and beer store that I go to, it's still there. In fact, I gave them a second one because they have two machines now, and it sits there. It's a reminder to the person ringing up the customer, and the customer who sees it too, that we all matter. So how about you? I mean, you said this, this came at a time when you got the card that you were having a tough time. Have there been significant moments in your life, if you want to share anything, you feel that you didn't matter? I mean, I share 4 stories in my books of significant times in my life that lasted years. I mean, my buddies asked me in my mastermind group, we had a mid-year meeting 2 years ago, and they said, so why is this so important to you? And they're like, Mark, do you feel like you matter? I said, I do. But, your struggle is your gift the world will fall in love with. And so I've struggled playing the victim or believing that I didn't matter. And that's why I believe this is so meaningful to me, because I don't want other people to feel like that. And there are times I'm ashamed that I did, but now I have a way to give back and empower other people, and then in turn empower myself. So how about you?
Yeah, thank you. I think it's so lovely that you are sharing that in your book, because just that is going to touch people, Mark. So especially as a man, I think men who are willing to be brave and be vulnerable, as you clearly are a gift to us all. So I just want to just underscore how impactful that is. And thank you for that. Short answer, absolutely. Are there times in my life where I've questioned if I matter? Of course, yes. And I think most notably, I would say childhood and adolescence, honestly. I was very shy, like deeply, destructively shy. And it mattered to my ability to feel connection and a sense of belonging. I was never like explicitly bullied hardcore. I was a little overweight. So there was a time when I would get comments about being chubby. That certainly never felt good. And I just think it took me a long time to feel at home in the world, in my body, to find my people. And as a woman, I was raised to be very sensitive to the needs of others and not necessarily tuned into my own needs. So it's taken me a long time to realize that not just that I matter, but my opinions matter, my feelings matter, my pain matters. I was just really a people pleaser and exquisitely talented at that. And that is great. I mean, it's partly why, I'm a leadership and life coach, and I think I'm a good one because of my ability to have rapport and empathy and tune into others. So it's a gorgeous gift. And at times it's come at the expense of my own tuning into myself and valuing and validating my own lived experience. So in those ways, I've struggled with this question of, do I matter? Do I matter enough to speak up when somebody hurts my feelings? Do I matter enough to get out of a situation where I feel I'm not being respected or boundaries are being violated? That's been a journey for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're not unlike anyone else, right, that walks the face of the earth. But I appreciate you sharing those vulnerabilities. I had the same, being bullied, and kind of playing the victim in that situation. Having a speech impediment that really affected my life for more than a decade. I let it beat me up, and so plenty of times I felt that I didn't matter, and it's tough, and that's why everybody struggles. We don't know what the other people are struggling with, and that's the thing, right? That's why it's so powerful to remind them. Like I said, if I love the philosophy said, if you say I love you, well, that's about me, not necessarily about you, right? You are giving that person that sentiment. At the same time, anytime you put the I in front of something, subconsciously or unconsciously, people think it's about you, not them. And so
yeah, well, if I don't love you, it doesn't make you less lovable. It's just, it's like, I don't like mushrooms. That a lot of people do. I just don't. So that doesn't make a mushroom bad. It's just not my thing. Right. So I don't like mushrooms. That's about me. You like mushrooms. That's about you. The mushroom's the mushroom. Right. So anyway, that might be too unnecessarily complex, but the bottom line is, it really is as simple as believing in our bones that we have merit no matter what, and that we're not better than, but we're certainly not less than. And because we're here, we're a human being, and we have significance. It's that simple, and it's that profound.
You can just drop the mic right there. That's why I put a period after "my you matter."
That's great.
I want it to be end of sentence. Drop the mic. Full stop. That's it. You don't need to say anything else. It's like when someone says, "I'm sorry" or "thank you." You don't have to put anything else after that. In fact, sometimes you say "I'm sorry" with an explanation. Now you're not really sorry. You're just using that as a precursor to explain your point of view, which the person didn't agree with anyway. But just thank you. It could just be thank you. It doesn't have to have a reason behind it.
Or no. A lot of women struggle with saying no.
Right.
So no is a complete sentence.
Yes. Well, look, if we ever also do lunch or dinner, at some point we meet up, I'll remember never to order any mushrooms at the table, so because you don't like them.
But you might, and that's okay.
Right.
Or your dish can have plenty of rooms.
The You Matter Marathon, is that a nonprofit now?
It was for a little bit. Right now, we're a project under my business, Cheryl Rice Leadership. So we're not a nonprofit. It's funded pretty much by me and my family. We take donations, and we have a lovely community of people who do make donations. But the cards are still free, and we're no longer just in November, so you can order cards all year long because it became really hard to contain it. People wanted to do this more. So for the past, I think this is our third year being all year round, but we do double down our efforts in November, the month of Thanksgiving in the States. And again, youmattermarathon.org. You can get 10 free cards every year while supplies last. And we send out a little You Matter story once a week. And people tell me they love the stories as much as giving out cards, because we share stories of other people's experiences with sharing the cards. And they're so touching, and they're so generous and gorgeous. We share photos. We have a Facebook community, You Matter Marathon on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. And it's the easiest thing to be part of, to be inspired. And, this is a tough time in the States, in the world. There's a lot of pain. And this is something we all can do. It takes no money. It takes just an intention to make somebody's life a little bit better every day, including your own. So no barriers to participating. Get your cards, people. Go out. youmattermarathon.org, 10 free cards. People who love free stuff love us too. Like, it's free stuff. It's free cards. You get them. You put them in your pocket. You have a superpower. You go out and you make people's day. You maybe make their week. You may even change their life. You will definitely change yours. I defy anyone to give out 10 You Matter cards and come back and tell me it wasn't worthwhile.
Exactly.
Not going to happen. we need. These are vitamins for the soul, people. Vitamins for the soul, the spirit, the world. We all want this. It's just, we need to be reminded that there's something in our power. People, I think, feel powerless sometimes, Mark, to know how they can make a difference. I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of time. What can I really do to change the world, to make it a better place for my kids? This is something. And kids love this. We're in schools. If you know people in your life who are teachers, I'll talk to any class via Zoom for 10 minutes about the power of mattering. It's great. We have a school guide for teachers about how to incorporate You Matter cards into the curriculum. I think we have also a guide for businesses, for sure, who are doing work with DE&I and belonging efforts, inclusion, and corporations. Amazon did the You Matter Marathon a few years ago. They did it digitally, which was really cool. So there's all sorts of communities, public, private, that can benefit from participating. And you can participate as an ambassador, where you bring your community to the fore, whether it's a Boy Scout troop, a Girl Scout troop, a bowling league, it doesn't matter. There's a way for you to be involved. That's it. YouMatterMarathon.org.
YouMatterMarathon.org. So if anyone wants to participate in the You Matter movement through Cheryl or myself as YouMatterMB.com, but we're focusing on you. I love what you talk about here, because yesterday too, Chad said this sentence that the true reason you are here on earth is to benefit the lives of those around you. Mm-hmm. That's it. The true reason you're here on earth is to benefit the lives of those around you, which means you have worth and a purpose because you are here. God created you, whatever you believe. But the goal of this human adventure that Darren Hardy talks about is to do all you can with all you have been given. And if you do that, it is going to serve others, because no one is like you. No one will ever be like you. No one has ever been like you. And so why you're here and what you have to give is going to make a difference. And the more vulnerable and transparent you are in sharing that, the closer we all become. I mean, if you and I and whoever else can get 1 billion people to believe that they matter, then that ripple effect would touch the entire globe, and lives could change that way. And maybe the world changes. I'm not advocating you have to have peace on earth and all. I'm just talking about starting at the foundation of loving yourself, believing that, and that ripple effect touches others. We wouldn't be talking here if that didn't, speak to both of us and many other people who are part of this.
That's so right, Mark. That's so right.
So what's on the horizon for You Matter Marathon?
Sustaining ourselves, honestly. I just want to keep going. I don't want to have to close shop. I want to keep the cards free to make it as easy and accessible as possible. At this point, honestly, we don't have any grand ambitions. This feels good to me, the way we're doing it, and it works well with my life. I mean, we're a really small, tiny team. And as I said, we're self-funded now. So I just want it to continue and to support the work of others like yourself who are doing this. So that's where we are right now. And it feels really solid to me. And next year will be our 10th year. So we are thinking about what we might do just to really celebrate that. And we have a community, we call them Yummies, of You Matter Marathoners who've been some with us from the beginning. So we're thinking about what we might do to celebrate our 10th year. But beyond that, just keep going, one card share at a time, changing the world.
There you go. One card at a time. It's the small incremental things you do consistently that make the biggest changes in the world. It's not handing out 1 million cards all at once. No. It should be a flash in the pan. It's about doing it. It has to be done organically, one person at a time, because you can't, you need the interaction of the human beings one-to-one.
That's right.
To do this. It doesn't speak the same if you were just going to do it digitally, or,
no,
it has to be in person, or even someone, like I said, you leave the card there and they pick it up still in a way you were touching them, just not standing in front of them.
That's right.
That's cool. And I mean, 10 years, that's fantastic. I didn't find out about this till 2019. So it's only been 5 years for me. So I'm only halfway where you are. And what you're doing is just incredible. I applaud you and your team for making this happen and for helping everybody, who needs to be reminded, which is everybody, that they matter. So it's really cool to be a part of this and to have this speak to us, so much, and to other people as well, because we just, like you said, we got to keep going, and it never ends. It's not like you're going to retire from helping people believe they matter.
That's right.
Lifelong ambition.
That's right. It's not going anywhere, but it's really a gift to me to see that this has electrified you and given you this desire and intention. And clearly you have the ability to go out and make a meaningful difference as part of your gift to the world. So I'm thrilled, and we'll do what we can to make sure people know what you're up to in our community, because everybody wins. And I so thank you, Mark, for your generosity of giving me this platform today to talk with you and your followers, and together get more people excited about what's to come for all of us.
Yeah, and I think they're both of our followers and whoever else is doing this, because it's so simple, right? It's you matter. So everyone who believes that and wants to share that, we're followers of this whole thing, not just you or me or anyone else who's doing this.
Not exclusive.
Not exclusive at all. However, I will say that besides you, I've never seen another single person hand out a You Matter card in my
Well, you haven't met Vicky yet. So if you go to Florida, meet Vicky. She's in Orlando. So she's really just a beautiful soul and very generous. And again, was a catalyst that got a card to me. So it's how it should be.
I'll have to get her on the podcast too. Reach out to her. Maybe you'll share information, and I'll get her there as well. Anything else you want to share about your movement? About, like I said, I mean, you talked about it's even after 10 years, it's still developing. It's not like you're at the finish line for anything. You never will be if we're doing this the right way, because people are always going to need this. I mean, I read a book. I can't remember the title of it right now. Same as Ever, Morgan Housel. And he has a line in there that I think speaks to this, because he says, history doesn't repeat itself. Man always does. So the human emotion, the human condition, the way we're wired, and our heart and minds and souls, that's never going to change. I don't care how the world changes, because human beings are not changing. We can live longer, we can become physically healthier, but what you feel inside, we're always going to be wired this way, which is why history doesn't repeat itself. Man always does. We tend to make the same mistakes. If you go back in time, greed and lust and all the things that existed before still exist now, as well as giving and loving. And so this is not be all end all, but it is the foundation. It's a craving that we all have. I mean, I believe that you need a few things in life. It's food and water, right, to survive, and shelter. But you need to feel that you matter, that you're valued and appreciated. That's how deep it is. I agree with David Schwartz. It's our greatest non-biological hunger. And William James, who says it's a craving. I mean, that's how deep it goes. And I applaud everything you're doing. Thank you for being the person whose story I heard to be able to make this happen. You didn't even know Darren had told the story, which was crazy. But I'm glad he did, because I wouldn't know about you either. We wouldn't have this conversation. Like Steve Jobs says, and I think it was in commencement speech, that you can't connect the dots looking forward, only looking back.
Yes. We live life forwards, but we understand it backwards. That's right.
We're connecting the dots. I feel it happening day by day with all of this, and I wouldn't have known you or got to have this opportunity if the things hadn't done before in my life led to here, led to this moment. And we don't know what the future is going to hold, but we need to be a realistic optimist, right? We should all be optimists and just realistic that things are going to happen. But if we can do this and help people believe they matter, then the world can definitely be a better place.
Absolutely, Mark.
Cool. Well, thank you, Cheryl, so much. It's been an honor, really, to be able to talk to you. It meant the world to me to find you. It's never a lack of resources, just a lack of resourcefulness. And so I sought you out, and we had a conversation a few months ago, and I'm like, please, I want to get you on the podcast before the book comes out, because you're the reason that this even exists for me. So thank you so much.
It's a privilege for me, Mark. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So Cheryl Rice, our guest here on the You Matter Show podcast. Look for this podcast on all streaming services. And I'm Mark Brodinsky. As Cheryl would back me up on this, remember, you matter. Thanks for joining us. See ya.